Welcome friends to a 2024 Acura TLX Type S review. I'm going to quickly cover what's new for the 2024 model year, then I'm going to talk about the drive, the interior, and towards the end I'm going to share with you how you can save a substantial amount of money on brand new Acura vehicles. Alright, let's get started. 2024 is a mid-cycle refresh for the TLX. This body style came out in 2021 and I did a review of the A-Spec. I really love that car. But here for 2024 we have some great new changes. First, they have really simplified the trim levels. We have the technology model as the new base, and that's going to be available in front-wheel drive. Then you have the A-Spec in the middle, and if you're going to go with the 4-cylinder model, the A-Spec is the way to go because you get the super handling all-wheel drive system as standard. It looks great, and you also get a lot of refinement updates as well with the A-Spec model. If you look at Acura's official journalist press release, in the paragraph referring to the A-Spec model, they made all sorts of tweaks and updates to the wheel liners. They added some more insulation in that area, something to do with the B-pillar as well. They just made a lot of refinement updates, particularly to the A-Spec. I've noticed in a lot of other reviews, journalists would say that these refinement changes apply across the board to every trim. The only refinement update that applies to every TLX in 2024 is regarding the thicker carpets. Other than that, all the other more detailed changes apparently only applies to the A-Spec model. I just wanted to throw that out there and you can read up on it for yourself. I'll have it on the screen for you to check out. And we have the Type S at the top. So the base model is going to start at 45 grand, that technology model. A-Spec is going to be 50 grand. This Type S around $57,000, and add destination to all of these prices. You have some very subtle styling updates with the front fascia, with that front grille there, and with the front bumper. It's so subtle, it's hard to detect, but it is there across the board for every trim of the TLX. You get pretty much all of the safety tech as standard in 2024. At least the useful ones like blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alert, forward collision. I mean, all of these things come as standard even with the base tech model. But in general, one of the biggest pros regarding the TLX lineup is how well equipped it comes. There's no crazy options that you need to add. If you go with the A-Spec model or this Type S, you're getting basically everything that you need. And as mentioned before, on the screen I'll have all the details laid out for you. But let's quickly talk about the exterior of this Type S, because this is such an aggressive looking car. In fact, I can't even photograph it properly. So because this is the Type S, we do have additional styling updates. We have some front splitters, we have a rear spoiler in the back, massive quad tip exhausts, and Type S badges slathered all over this vehicle. We also have this beautiful urban gray pearl paint job with these optional 20-inch copper finished wheels. Truly a stunning car to behold. Everyone is snapping their necks to take a look at this car, but again, I can't quite portray this car's swagger to you through the film, which is unfortunate. You really have to see this car in person to know what I'm talking about. This gray paint job, it's not just your ordinary regular cement type color that you see with other manufacturers. This is a true pearl effect, and it has like this golden hue that you can see during direct sunlight. It is such a gorgeous color, and you combine that with the aggressive looks of this Type S, it just truly stands out amongst the generic European car competitors. They look so boring in comparison to this. But let me know in the comment section your thoughts regarding the looks of this new TLX Type S. Are you a fan of these copper wheels? These are unique and special wheels. Acura claims that these are hub-centric wheels. So they're saying that it's easier to mount and it apparently lowers the vibration. So if there's a wheel expert out there, let us know in the comment section what's special about hub-centric wheels. I would like to know more about that. But anyway, for right now, let's go ahead and let's get into this driving segment. We have here the 3-liter turbocharged V6 engine producing 355 horsepower and 354 pounds-feet of torque. I believe Car and Driver tested this vehicle to do 0 to 60 in about 4.6 seconds, and that's fine. However, more importantly, this is performance done right. What do I mean by that? There is nothing overboosted or unnatural about this TLX Type S. However, Acura has managed to implement the correct amount of edginess / sharpness to make this car still feel special out on the road. And this is for the first time in a long time where I have experienced a proper dual nature sports sedan. When you play with these various modes, you have comfort, normal, sport, and you have Sport Plus with this Type S model. Those modes, they truly do make a difference. For instance, even when you drive this car in the normal mode, there is a sharpness and an edginess to the way that this car feels. And it does feel firmer as well. And you always have this want and tendency to drive it harder than you really need to out on the street in the normal and in the sport modes. However, comfort mode really turns this into a proper luxury sedan. The steering becomes a lot lighter, the throttle response becomes a little bit calmer, and also the ride quality, you really notice the change in how soft it becomes. It even introduces a subtle floating effect when you're going over the road. It is so impressive, a true Jekyll and Hyde personality. And then sport mode feels a lot like normal, but it just puts you into a lower gear, so you can pretty much get up and go a little bit quicker. So if you like that, there you go. But Sport Plus is the true sport mode in this car, in my opinion. Car becomes so much more aggressive. The actual tone of the engine and the exhaust changes. Even in the automatic mode, it shifts so well. Okay, so we have here a 10-speed automatic, but it's a sport-tuned version of what you get with the regular TLXs. You can also play with the paddle shifters, and I do have this in the manual mode right now. You do get rev matched downshifts with the Type S. Everything about this car feels so crispy, very sharp. But what I've noticed is even if you have the transmission in Sport and everything in Sport Plus, this vehicle will still auto upshift for you, which I don't really mind in this car. See, like right there, it just auto upshifted, but it's totally fine. It's just protecting the car from grenading itself when you're driving this really aggressively. But what I've noticed is no matter how aggressively you drive this car, the engine, you know, I mentioned that it does sound sportier in Sport Plus, like it's a true audible difference between the other modes. However, the engine isn't like, you know, it's not the most charismatic I've ever listened to. There's no crazy blow-off sounds or any crackles and pops from the exhaust system. If there is, it's very subtle. So Sport Plus is cool. That's your proper aggressive mode in this car. And you also have a individual mode that you can play with as well, but it's not really necessary. In day-to-day driving, I enjoy comfort and normal. And when I'm really hustling this in a back road, that's when I utilize Sport Plus, so I can play with the paddles or even just leaving it in automatic mode. I did a quick demonstration there for you. It performs totally fine in regular automatic with the Sport Plus. I also like the way that this throttle is tuned. You can be foot to the floor and the response is great, but also when you're kind of just half throttle or you just tip into the throttle, you also have adequate amount of thrust and speed that you're getting from this car, especially for street driving. So you can drive it smooth, you can drive it aggressive. Everything is calibrated correctly. But the engine is smooth. You know, there's no issues with the engine. It's better than your generic B58 and the Audi 4-cylinder / 6-cylinders that they have to offer. This has more character than that. The only vehicles that are going to outdo this in terms of character is going to be the Lexus engines, both the naturally aspirated V6 and the V8 that they have to offer. And the AMG engines are pretty cool too, but the problem with Mercedes is they have chintzy interior spaces and weird technology. I mean, I'll talk about the infotainment in this car in a moment, but right now, focusing on the drive, this car is just brilliantly tuned and set up. Every mode in this car is meaningful and affects the drive in a positive way. Before, the only cars where I noticed a true difference in the suspension tuning, it was the full-on Mercedes AMG products. Comfort and sport made a difference, and the GM cars, right, like the Camaros, Corvettes, Cadillacs, etc., there was a difference there with their magnetic dampers, and I guess on an extreme level, the Ferrari stuff, and now this TLX Type S. It's really brilliant. Chassis on this car is also excellent, but I said that about the regular TLXs as well. Actually, the main advantage with this Type S is going to be we have thicker stabilizer bars in the front and in the rear with the Type S. We also have chassis bracings. We have these amazing adaptive dampers. These three things is what sets it off from the regular TLX models like the A-Spec. And of course, we have the 3-liter V6, right? Way more power. Sport tuned 10-speed automatic. That's the thing. I wasn't a huge fan of the 4-cylinder and the regular 10-speed found in the regular TLX models. I mean, it was okay for like street driving, but for aggressive driving, this is definitely what you want. I have no qualms with this drivetrain setup. It is flawless, and we already know about the amazing super handling all-wheel drive system that Acura has to offer. I mean, that all-wheel drive system combined with this amazing chassis and proper suspension architecture, like we have here, the double wishbone suspension in the front, multi-link in the rear, that was the big change in 2021, you know, that suspension architecture, right? You combine all three of those things together, you just have an amazing driving vehicle. This is so confidence inspiring in every driving condition, right? I had this thing out on the highway. The stability is truly excellent. And also this vehicle weighs 4,200 pounds, something that a lot of people complain about with the Type S. But when you're driving this car, you wouldn't even notice it. This car feels at least 600 to 700 pounds lighter than what the curb weight would suggest. When you're tossing this thing around in a back road, you don't feel like you're whipping a car that's, you know, 4,200 pounds. The acceleration, you really get a decent pushback sensation into your seat, primarily in the comfort mode, actually, because the shocks are tuned to be a little less aggressive, a little less stiff, so you kind of feel that weight transfer happen a little bit more when you accelerate. So surprisingly, you feel more of that acceleration rush in comfort more than you would feel it in normal or even the sport modes. I just thought I would point that out. And yeah, this car feels ballistically quick from that 0 to 60 type of speed, but then once you get it out on the highway or once you're already up and moving, that acceleration really does die off. You know, like with most turbo engines, right? You get a lot of that thrust down low, then at the higher end, you don't really get that same acceleration feel, which is fine, that's normal. I also mentioned towards the beginning all of the refinement changes that the A-Spec models got, but you would be surprised. This TLX Type S is also very refined and very quiet. Out on the highway, you don't get any real wind noise. You just get that subtle tire hum, which again is completely normal, but this is a quiet car. So again, if there's someone who knows more about the Acura changes, like if you know that they're not disclosing everything properly, let me know in the comment section. Did all of the TLXs just get those refinement updates? I'm not sure. Please let me know. But others have commented saying that, oh, they didn't give the Type S the refinement improvements because they wanted this car to feel more raw and more connected out on the road. And that makes sense. I can understand that, but this is relatively communicative, but also refined. This has struck the perfect balance. And I know I'm really glazing this car right now, and that's because I have to glaze it. They really nailed this vehicle as a sports sedan for the street, okay? It's not like a lot of the BMW products that I've tested where everything is over boosted, like the steering, the suspension. I mean, I remember driving a 3 Series that was just comically stiff and there was no benefit to it. Like, this is 2024, family. Like, we don't need over boosted cars for no reason. You can have your cake and eat it too. You can have, you know, these adjustable dampers. You can have a comfortable ride quality and have a proper sporting driving experience as well. You can have it all. Case in point, I also like to bring up the Chevrolet Camaro LT1. Okay, less than $40,000. Comes with a V8, comes with a stick or a 10-speed auto, whatever. Has massive 20-inch wheels, rides like butter, handles amazing. This is same story, okay? We got massive 20-inch wheels, handles amazing, rides amazing, all that good stuff. So yes, BMW's comically over stiff cars, it's a nice little novelty. It's interesting to experience that maybe for a week, but to live with that on a day-to-day basis for 2-3 years on a lease or something like that, yeah, no thank you to that. This is a far better and far more livable package than what BMW has to offer with those Lite vehicles, right? Like those M40i's. Because I will say this, BMW's full M products, they are proper. That is something to behold. Those are special vehicles for sure. But I prefer stuff like this Type S to the M Lites and to the S Series Audis. I prefer driving this. I even prefer driving this to the Golf R that I tested a few months back. Golf R is cool. That car is set up pretty nicely. However, I like the substantial feeling of this out on the road. A lot of that is thanks to the curb weight, right? You can have a high curb weight vehicle as long as you have a proper suspension architecture and a proper chassis that can absorb, you know, the bumps and everything really well. And that's exactly what we have here. This is a lot like the LC500 Lexus that I owned in terms of chassis feel and suspension feels. Audis just feel too generic and way too boring. This has that excitement that a lot of those Euro cars just lack, because this car just talks to you so well. The other thing about these Euro cars is this matrix has indoctrinated the people to literally worship Audis, BMWs, and Mercedes products. No matter how good a Acura or a Lexus vehicle is, people are just pre-programmed to worship those European cars. That's supposed to be your de facto choice, essentially. To do this job, I had to take my blinders off because I don't blame a lot of people. I was drinking the Euro car Kool-Aid as well. Growing up, I loved BMWs, and I still do. I'm not knocking BMW. I don't hate them. They still make an excellent product, but we shouldn't just take away from what Acura has to offer and what Lexus has to offer with their F-Sport and F-Cars. Another thing we have here, these 4-piston Brembo brakes, and they bring this car to a stop very nicely, but again, it's not a over-boosted brake pedal, right? It's a natural feeling brake pedal. Everything here feels natural, normal, but the performance is top tier. That's what I'm saying. This is performance done right for the street, very confidence inspiring. I would say the only con on paper is the weight distribution isn't the best. I forgot exactly what it was. I think it's like 57 front, 43 back, something like that. It's not terrible, but I just thought I would mention it. The auto stop start in this is surprisingly smooth. I actually leave it on in this car. You don't even notice it, you know, turning off and turning on. There's no vibrations here either, so that's good. But that's the only other con with this car when you're daily driving it. The fuel economy is not the best with the Type S. It's like 19 city, 25 highway, and yes, you do have to utilize premium fuel. Fuel economy is where the Euro stuff has a big advantage. The 4 cylinders and 6 cylinders from Audi and BMW, they are truly very fuel efficient engines. You can meet and certainly even exceed their fuel economy numbers, whereas with this Type S, not so much. I mean, with proper pounding, driving this super aggressively on back roads, I was getting like 15 mpg, so that's the worst you can expect. But in the city, I'm getting about 18-ish, and out on the highway, 24, 25 is what you can expect. So yeah, fuel economy is not the greatest. I feel like that's the only real drawback here. But you're driving something like this, a near $60,000 car, I'm guessing you probably don't care. But yeah, I think that's a detailed look at the Type S. I think that's really everything you need to know. And I think you get the idea regarding this car. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's transition into the interior segment now. Okay, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space, because this is another area where Acura stands out amongst its competition. We have a far more unique and character-filled design for the interior space. The stitching, the different materials, we have real aluminum trim being used. When you step inside of like a new BMW or a new Audi interior, it just looks like a glorified Mazda interior space, which is fine. You know, that's ergonomic, easy to use, no problems. But this, we have some design injected in here. I love the leather stitched dash. Everything here just has a premium demeanor about it. The only thing that's taking away from the interior space is a bit of glossy black plastic being used in the middle, but that's the only area, so I sort of forgive it. But these Milano red seats, not only do they look amazing, but they're extremely comfortable as well. We have great lumbar support. The softness of the leather is great, but not to worry though, even if you get a base technology version, you're still going to get Milano seats, but you're not going to get these suede inserts in the middle. You only get these suede inserts with the A-Spec model and with this Type S. And the only thing I'm going to mention regarding the Ultra Suede inserts is it can be a little difficult to clean. Like if you have hair stuck onto it, even if you try to vacuum it, it could be difficult for that to come off. So that's the only thing I noticed, but comfort-wise, this is top tier. You can do a lot of miles in this car and not feel fatigued. Leather wrapped steering wheel, that's also great. All the buttons and switches, they have a good tactile feedback to them. I do like these metal-ish paddle shifters. They're satisfactory to use and they react really well in the manual mode. The doors, when you open and close them, that has a solid feel and good sound to it. And when you go with the A-Spec model or this Type S like you see here, you're going to get the proper 17-speaker ELS 3D sound system. One of the best audio systems that you can get in a semi-normal car, okay, especially well under 100 grand. This is simply one of the best audio systems that you can get in a vehicle. Like in the normal car segment, it's Acura's ELS, Lexus Mark Levinson audio system. Then we have the Mercedes Burmester audio in the S classes. These are some of the best audio systems that I've ever listened to. But if you go with the technology model, you still get an ELS audio system, but it's a 13-speaker unit. But yeah, the clarity and the bass that this has to offer is truly stupendous. Heck, even the Integra A-Spec that I tested also had a phenomenal ELS audio system to it. So yeah, Acura really nails it with that. I remember with the 2025 MDX, they actually switched to the Bang & Olufsen. I'm not sure how well that's going to compare to the ELS audio that Acura has been offering us. So hopefully they can continue to maintain amazing audio quality with Bang & Olufsen. I think we can expect the same thing with a 2025 TLX as well, but we'll see. Again, as I mentioned in the driving segment, I was doing a lot of glazing with this car. Now it's time to step back to reality. Most of the cons I have with this machine, it's going to be here with the infotainment system. I can say with full confidence that this is the worst infotainment that I have ever used in just about any car. In the 7 years of me testing vehicles, yeah, this is pretty trash. I can't believe Acura actually co-signed on this infotainment system. For the 2025 MDX, they actually moved to a touchscreen, so the screen sits closer to you and you're able to interact via touchscreen. Here we don't have that. The screen is very far back, and that's okay. But this is unlike the Lexus touchpad system. Everyone complained and griped about the Lexus touchpad. That was actually really intuitive and worked really great. I loved it in my 2020 LC500. I had no qualms with it, but this is not like that. This touchpad continuously misinterprets my inputs. So what's the solution? Do you just wait for 2025 for them to come out with a touchscreen? I mean, what are you going to do if an Acura dealership offers you a 2024 Type S at a great deal? Are you just going to pass on it? Of course not. You have to buy it. So how do you deal with this infotainment system? Well, here's what you do. As soon as you take delivery of this vehicle, spend 30 excruciating minutes in your driveway just setting everything up, all right? Set up the safety tech the way that you want it, set up the lock and unlock features how you want, and then be done with it. Don't touch it afterwards. You simply just pair up your phone with the wireless Apple CarPlay or the wireless Android Auto, and you just use that, because fortunately they gave you wireless CarPlay, wireless Android Auto as standard across the board with all of these TLXs, okay? We have this 12.3-inch infotainment display. We have the full digital gauge cluster here as well. All of these screens, all of this tech, it looks good. Okay, these are high quality screens, excellent resolution. And fortunately, once you have this connected with Apple CarPlay, the touchpad reacts pretty well, actually. So that's a great thing. We also have a 360 camera here with this Type S, and I believe that's only bespoke to the Type S as well. That's a bit unfortunate. I wish they would at least add that with the A-Spec models. But yeah, the cameras, very high quality. This is easy to park, easy to place out on the road. The digital gauge cluster, that looks great, and it's also very easy to use as well. And when you play with the various modes, your gauge cluster will change. We also have a 10.5-inch heads-up display with the Type S, and you don't get that with the other models. Other things, we also have electronically folding side mirrors. That's also bespoke to the Type S. I wish they would actually give that to you on the lower models as well, because those are not cheap cars either. Other than that, I absolutely love the physical buttons and switches that you have for the HVAC, and I love how it's separated from the screen. That's what I'm saying. Once you have the infotainment dialed in the way that you want and you have it connected to CarPlay or Android Auto, you can rest easy. It's not an issue living with that infotainment, especially since the HVAC is separated. You also have heated and cooled seats. However, the cooled seating function, it's not really cooling anything, sadly. A lot of people ask me, hey bro, which cars have the best cooled seats? Definitely not Acura. I can say that, but oh well, at least the heated seats work really well. You have a physical volume knob here as well. Wireless charging pad, that comes standard. Center armrest has some good space with USB-C ports and regular USB as well. The glove box is okay. We have a regular sunroof here, and we also have a place to put your sunglasses. I will say the Type S is a pretty low slung vehicle. I mean, almost every new sedan is pretty low slung. Even if you get into a new Honda Accord, they're all pretty low to the ground now. So it could be a little difficult for some people to get in and out of. I just thought I would mention that. This vehicle still has the same 5.3-inch ground clearance as the other TLXs. However, we do have some splitters and things at the bottom, so you just need to be cognizant about that when you're parking this. This car is around 195 inches long total, and it has a 113-inch wheelbase. So you can certainly fit this inside of a garage. And yeah, physically, this is a pretty long and large car. However, the rear seating space, it's not the absolute best, sadly. I'm 5'11". I sit a bit closer to the steering wheel than most people my size, and I can certainly sit behind myself. However, I'm not exactly stretching out back there, but it's definitely doable. It's not the worst thing in the world. I mean, people obviously drive around in compact cars, but yeah, for this class and for this size, you would expect more space. But the reason why you don't have a ton of space is because Acura really wanted to strengthen the chassis of this sedan. That's why you have a slightly less rear legroom, and that's okay because you appreciate the way this car drives. This is a driver's car, and the backseat drivers, they need to chill out back there. So yeah, they don't need a whole bunch of space. And there is no heated or cooled seats in the back. You just have a center armrest, and you also have some vents back there as well. The trunk space is pretty massive. That's very good. You don't have a spare tire. You just have a fix-a-flat kit and the battery is also located in the back for weight distribution, I'm sure. And you can actually fold down these rear seats, but being that this is the Type S, we have these chassis braces running through the back. But despite that, at least you are able to still fold down these seats. A lot of vehicles that have that type of bracing, they usually don't allow you to fold down the seats. At least Acura does give you that option. And I will just end off with this. The visibility in this car is very good in the front. The rear window, it can be slightly difficult to see in the back, and the side mirrors do a good job. I just wish that they were slightly bigger, but outside of that, great product. I love driving it. I love sitting in it. It's a truly special car for the money. So let's go ahead and let's conclude. Okay, concluding thoughts on the Type S. Obviously, as you can tell from my commentary, I'm a huge fan of not only driving this car, but also sitting in it, experiencing this vehicle's various features like the audio system, the great Milano leather seats, and brilliantly tuned drive modes. I absolutely love it. Now, you heard my thoughts in great detail, and I hope you appreciated it. I tried to be as pragmatic as possible with these cars, and I usually don't do this, but I did watch some other car reviews regarding this car, and I noticed some reviewers saying that the transmission performance wasn't that great with the Type S. I'm not surprised, because in all the years of doing this, I've noticed that every car literally drives different from one another. You can take 10 Type S's and all 10 of them are going to drive differently. And it's not just with Acura, it's not just with post-pandemic vehicles. A lot of people ask me, hey, have you noticed post-pandemic cars have less quality than before? Honestly, no. This is something that has occurred post-pandemic, pre-pandemic, used, new, it doesn't matter. Cars drive drastically different from one another, every different model. I'll use Lexus as an example. I drove like 10 different GS's, and every Lexus GS felt different from one another. Some of them had lethargic transmission tuning and engine tuning. Others felt really snappy and quick. Some cars rode great, others didn't. I drove an RX Lexus that felt literally like a Rolls Royce to drive, and then I drove another one 2 years later, a brand new RX that literally felt worse than a new RAV4. I'm not even exaggerating. The difference in car quality is insane across the board. I have no idea why. There's no explanation for this. The only thing you can do as a consumer to protect yourself is to do a proper test drive of every vehicle, even six-figure automobiles. I remember driving an LX 600 and an Audi Q8, which felt like total garbage, and then I drove other models that felt way better. So it's all over the map. Every price, it doesn't matter. Just do your due diligence, test drive the car that you want to buy. Because this vehicle with a little under 3,000 miles, this press car, no issues in how this car feels, drives, none of it. And as I promised at the beginning of this video, here's how you can save a substantial amount of money on new Acura vehicles. Okay, so if you want to save 8% off MSRP on a regular TLX, the non-Type S models, again, I am emphasizing non-Type S, you can save 8% off on the technology and the A-Spec TLXs. How can you do that? It's by reaching out to a broker by the name of AutoCompanion. He's one of the largest brokers in the United States, and he doesn't just have Acura deals, he has other brands and manufacturers as well. However, since this video is about Acura, I'm going to focus on that. Regarding the Type S, he is at MSRP, so if you want this car and you're having a hard time negotiating with your local dealers, I'm not surprised. There's only about 60 of these brand new Type S's for sale throughout the country, and half of them are like 2023 model years. So there's about 36 2024 Type S's on the lot throughout the country. MSRP for the Type S, 8% off on the other two TLXs. He's also got great discounts on MDX, RDX, and the Integra. That's definitely another affordable daily driver that you can look into. I love the A-Spec Integra with the manual transmission. That was brilliant, and it even has a hatchback. The other thing is, lease programs are really good with the other Acuras. like Integra, RDX, and with the MDX as well. And if you want a MDX Type S, he is offering 8% off on that, but that's a substantially more expensive vehicle. It's 75 grand. 8% off, you're about $69,000. AutoCompanion also has a free leasing calculator, which I will have linked in the description box below. This is a powerful resource because leasing programs, they change every month, and this calculator will update every month, and it shows you the residual values, the interest rate of the lease, and the incentives that you can qualify for in your local zip code. Like with Acura, you can qualify for loyalty, or with Conquest, so those are going to be additional discounts that you can get on top of what AutoCompanion has to offer. Sadly, with the Type S, there is no subvented lease deals going on. This is a car that you get it at MSRP and you either pay cash for it, or you do like a finance deal on it, try to get it paid off as quickly as possible. That's really the best case scenario regarding the Type S. And that's the only other con working against the Type S. It's just not the best deal on the market, despite the MSRP being lower than its competition for everything that you're getting here. But who knows, in the future, the deals may change and the discounts may improve, so just keep up with AutoCompanion's calculator. And if you want to work with AutoCompanion, you can have the vehicle shipped to your destination because he is located in Washington, D.C. He can set that up for you, but you have to pay for the shipping yourself. But you can also pick up the vehicle at Washington, D.C. He does charge a broker fee, but if you sign up with my affiliate link in the description box below, he will take some money off of that broker fee. So hopefully you appreciated this review and these resources. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe. But thank you so much for watching this review. Take care and goodbye.